Hi, I'm Adam, and this is my review of One Battle After Another. I'll start with a brief overview of the film, then I'll move on to a plot summary, and then I'll give some deeper story analysis. There will be spoilers throughout this review, so here's your spoiler warning. One Battle After Another is a movie starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Sean Penn, written, directed, and co-produced by Paul Thomas Anderson. The movie sets up an intriguing love triangle between its three leads, two romantically involved revolutionaries, Bob Ferguson and Perfidia Beverly Hills, and a military commander, Stephen J. Lockjaw, though ultimately the film fails to bring this compelling conflict to a satisfying conclusion. Great movies are structured around radical character transformations, and though the film sets up the villain, Stephen J. Lockjaw, for an intriguing and dramatic change, the filmmakers never commit to resolving the conflict they create in anything more than the most shallow and cartoonish way. None of our heroes go through anything more than surface-level transformations, leaving us with a resolution that seems hollow and unsatisfying. The film creates many potential catalysts for our lead's growth. Bob seems to be unknowingly raising another man's child, and not just any man, but the child of his antagonist, Stephen Lockjaw. But this primal conflict never gets addressed, or figures into the story's resolution in any meaningful way. While many progressive moviegoers will love this film for its revolutionary aesthetic, I'm sure many people will view Bob as a hapless fool, unknowingly duped into raising a daughter he wrongfully believes is his own. One Battle After Another also sets up the perfect conflict for a deeper examination of racism, but instead of exploring the thought-provoking racial dilemma the movie creates, this conflict is really never explored beyond a few comical one-liners. Setting aside some of the laughable performances and ridiculous stereotypes in the first half of the movie.
My name is Jungle Pussy. This is what power looks like.
The setup was interesting enough to take us someplace substantial, but unfortunately, that substance never materialized, and we got a very two-dimensional take on racism from a Hollywood that really only seems capable of depicting racism from a very surface-level, racism is evil perspective. I'll go deeper into this idea in my movie analysis, but let's start with a brief plot summary of the film. We begin with the French 75 revolutionaries Bob Ferguson and Perfidia Beverly Hills freeing immigrants at a border detention center. It's here that Beverly Hills forces military commander Stephen J. Lockjaw into a bizarrely sexual standoff that sparks a secret affair. As the revolutionary group goes on a crime spree, Beverly Hills gets pregnant, has a baby, kills a security guard during a botched heist, snitches on her entire crew to gain witness protection, then ditches both Lockjaw and Bob and vanishes. 16 years later, Bob has raised Beverly Hills' daughter as his own, though which man is her biological father is still a mystery. While Bob is fathering Willa, Lockjaw is reinventing himself by joining a white supremacist group called the Christmas Adventurers. Here, Lockjaw is forced to deny his past relationship with Beverly Hills. Concerned about his secret past, Lockjaw tracks Willa to a commune of weed-smoking nuns where he runs a DNA test and confirms he is indeed the girl's biological father. But instead of bonding with Willa, Lockjaw hands her over to bounty hunters to be killed and buried so his secret doesn't ruin his standing with the racist group. As Lockjaw drives away from the bounty hunters, a man from his own racist group tries to assassinate him. While Lockjaw is left for dead, Willa manages to escape her captors after one of the bounty hunters has a change of heart. After a frantic, high-speed chase with a racist assassin, Willa kills the assassin herself, though Bob shows up just in time to take Willa home. In a strange twist, Lockjaw actually survives his injuries. Lockjaw returns to the racist Christmas Adventurers, only for them to gas and incinerate him in a secluded office. Why the Christmas Adventurers sent an assassin to kill Lockjaw when they could have just killed him quietly is left a mystery. The movie wraps up with Bob and Willa safe at home, where Bob shares a touching letter to Willa from her estranged mother, and it's never made clear if Willa has shared the information about her true paternity with Bob. It's deliberately left ambiguous, so we as an audience can ponder the truth. Is Bob a heroic and loving stepfather, or just a clueless cuck? Here's a few thoughts on the movie. Item number 1. The most depressing part of this movie is that it could have been so much better had the filmmakers actually committed to the contentious storyline they set up. Though I suspect progressive taboos prevented them from depicting anything more than two-dimensional racist and anti-racist characters. Because of this, none of the story threads are really compellingly resolved. There are no real satisfying character transformations or profound human change, and overall the movie just comes off as a disjointed mess of progressive power fantasies. By the end of the movie, we don't even know if Willa has shared the fact that she's a biological daughter of Lockjaw. Now, I have no issues with stepfathers, but the difference between a stepfather and a father who doesn't know he's raising another man's child is a chasm as wide as the Grand Canyon. Without this information, moviegoers might place Bob into the hapless cuck cuck category, which is not a great place for a hero. One might wonder with present-day Hollywood's fondness for depicting male humiliation if this is not the actual point. In reality, Leonardo DiCaprio has a string of young, attractive women he discards regularly, but on screen he plays a hapless cuck as penance. Is this a depiction of the real world we live in, or just some progressive fantasy created by Hollywood? The second half of the movie revolves around Bob saving his daughter from Lockjaw, a homicidal maniac. But in reality, Bob could have stayed home and the outcome would be exactly the same. Bob never confronts the villain, the man who literally fucked his girlfriend and made him a cuck, except for a few shots at a distance. And of course, Bob doesn't really save Willa, as it's become a kind of taboo to depict men saving women. Willa is saved at one point by a Native American bounty hunter, but I suspect they get around the taboo by depicting her rescuer as a member of a marginalized group. Beverly Hills, Bob's philandering girlfriend and the mother of Willa, doesn't have a real character arc either. She has to be in the running for worst on-screen mother, maybe even worst person of all time. The filmmakers try to shoehorn in some kind of redemption arc at the resolution when Willa receives the letter from her estranged cop-killing turncoat mother, but any words in a letter are going to pale in comparison to her selfish and self-serving actions throughout the film. Willa also has no dramatic change or character evolution. Willa is a young woman thrust into a life-threatening situation where she learns the mother and father she thought she knew her entire life are completely different people. This life-altering complication is barely a speed bump in the narrative storyline. In spite of this revelation, she appears to be the exact same person throughout the entire runtime of the film. And Lockjaw appears as a bog-standard two-dimensional racist. His character transformation could be enormous, though present-day Hollywood is far too afraid to tell that story. They have to default to the story of an avowed racist succumbing to his unwanted attraction to black women, a complication he must resolve before he can achieve his lifelong dream of joining the knockoff KKK. I suspect earlier drafts of the story had some kind of redemption arc for Lockjaw, since without it, his actions don't really make any sense. If Lockjaw is dealing with some unwanted sexual desire, why does Lockjaw actively court Beverly Hills like some derelict OnlyFans simp? He later even professes his love for Beverly Hills to Willa. Why? Someone fighting a sexual addiction is more likely to venture down the real-life path of Leonardo DiCaprio than the journey Lockjaw goes on. Lockjaw overcomes countless obstacles to be with Beverly Hills, only for her to leave him in the dust. Item number 2. Let us for a moment consider a film with a resolution that actually works. In the cult classic Pulp Fiction, mob boss Marcellus Wallace is determined to find and kill Butch Coolidge, a boxer who's betrayed him. After a violent and unforeseen series of events, Butch and Wallace are captured by two perverts who plan to rape and kill both of them. While the rapists go to work on Wallace, Butch escapes. But instead of leaving Wallace to die, Butch risks his own life to save the man who has vowed to kill him, setting up a fascinating question. Will Wallace forgive Butch for betraying him? Has Butch's self-sacrifice to save Wallace's life persuaded Wallace to forgive Butch of his betrayal? Of course, the answer to this question tells us something about human nature. It gives us insight into Marcellus Wallace's character and creates a compelling resolution to the story. One battle after another also sets up compelling questions over and over again. We are drawn into the dramatic irony of a whole host of situations, creating character questions which are never adequately satisfied. Whether or not a character smokes weed or knows karate does not give us any insight into that person's soul. Characterization is about how characters respond to difficult dilemmas. It's about making tough choices we as an audience can relate to. A man who knowingly raises another man's child has made a moral choice that a hapless cuck never has the opportunity to make. Even if Bob suspects Willa is not his daughter and decides he doesn't want to know, because ultimately he loves Willa either way, Bob is making a choice the movie never takes the time to consider. We are left in the end knowing little about Bob aside from his weed addiction and attraction to black women. These are your role models, boys. A man who wants to love and support his biological children is evil, and a man who loves a woman whether she's faithful or not is the pinnacle of moral saintliness. Are you listening, boys? All you need is some promiscuous cop-killing
Jungle pussy.
and your life will be complete. Now, had Pulp Fiction never resolved the storyline between Butch and Wallace, leaving it as art house vague as one battle after another, I doubt audiences would have been as forgiving as they seem to be of this highly praised film. Another giant question mark created by the film is, why does Beverly Hills get together with Lockjaw at all? Forgiving viewers might claim that she's forced to in the face of arrest, or that she does it so the resistance can continue without law enforcement interference. But ultimately, she does it either out of sexual desire or to prostitute herself for the cause. These are not the obvious actions of a hero. Item number 3. Here are some ideas to fix the character arc, character transformation issues. If Bob had actually saved Willa at the boathouse instead of some side character, we would see the risks Bob is willing to take to save his daughter. And if Bob does this even after he's just learned for the first time that Willa is not actually his biological daughter, we learn something deep and meaningful about Bob and about human nature. This movie could have also been legendary had the film tackled the complexity of Lockjaw's racism. If Lockjaw's desire to join the white supremacist group The Christmas Adventures was motivated by the unreturned love of Beverly Hills, one might ask, is Lockjaw truly racist? When Beverly Hills runs from Lockjaw and the Witness Protection Program, she leaves a note revealing, "This pussy don't pop for you." But are we to assume that if the pussy did pop for Lockjaw, this would be an entirely different movie? The most interesting story dilemma the movie presents is offered up and then abandoned faster than Beverly Hills can abandon her children. In the most pivotal and intriguing moment of the film, when Lockjaw discovers Willa is his biological daughter, the filmmakers have set up the ultimate dilemma for our villain and hero. We have arguably one of the most massive ironies in movie history, as Lockjaw waits for the results of Willa's DNA test. If Willa is his kid, he believes he can show her mercy. And if she's not his kid, he will be forced to kill her so that he can enter the white supremacist group. These are epic stakes any mother and father can understand. But in this upside-down world of progressive thought, biological reality is pitted against progressive taboos. The same force that prevents Cuck Bob from ever questioning his love for a daughter most men would perceive of as a giant fuck you from the entire world allows racist Lockjaw to kill his own flesh and blood so he can join the racist equivalent of the Elks Lodge. Don't think about it too much, okay? This movie is not about examining the human condition. It's a blind attempt at subverting it. Great setup, great stakes, amazing irony, fumbled beyond belief. If Lockjaw only joined the Christmas Adventures because he was rebuffed by Beverly Hills, and that perceived injustice propelled him down this racist path, his form of racism is qualitatively different than the other Christmas Adventures, who seem genuinely repulsed at the thought of ever being around black people. If Lockjaw would have married Beverly Hills, had she not left him, maybe he could have lived a normal life. The evidence of a real biological daughter from Beverly Hills could have awakened in him a need to revisit that life that could have been, setting our villain on a new path to save his estranged biological daughter, sparking in Lockjaw something I like to call a character arc. If Lockjaw, in the face of this new biological reality, decided to protect his daughter from the Christmas Adventure assassin coming to kill both of them, we have a far more interesting story than the cartoonish slop of a racist killing the daughter he's ashamed to have brought into this world. That movie dives into the complexity of racism and the greater human condition far more than this pandering trash ever could. Instead of exploring the far more complicated and compelling story the filmmakers set up, they abandon the story at its most critical climax. And likely because it would be blasphemy to depict some sort of redemption arc for any racist character. Once a straight white male character contemplates as much as a microaggression, he is damned to the pit of progressive hell for all eternity. Item number 4. Most good movies are a debate over a contentious point of view. This movie is the perfect vehicle to debate the age-old belief that blood is thicker than water. But instead of admitting that sometimes blood is a compelling force for good, the movie would rather comically cling to the ideal notion of a blended family based more in progressive dogma than any social or cultural reality. Ultimately, it's this dogmatic stance that will make this movie a hit with those living inside the moral matrix of progressivism, but it will leave people like me, people desirous of a movie subversive enough to depict the world as it actually is, totally unsatisfied. Though this movie is garbage, the cinematic equivalent of a tire fire, rabid fans will no doubt lampoon this review, citing the movie's widespread critical acclaim. And you know what? That's fine. I get it. While this movie may rake in accolades and critical acclaim, any success is ultimately kind of similar to, I would say, a Minecraft movie. One battle after another stayed true to its leftist fans. Instead of depicting any kind of normal through line that makes logical sense with a cohesive conflict and resolution, we are dragged through another Hollywood cliche depicting strong women and marginalized communities, no matter how many innocent security guards they may kill, as the moral backbone of society, and depicting every straight white male as either a violent racist or a drug-addled cuck. One battle after another is not a good movie, but no one in Hollywood cares because it's their movie. It's a movie that gets the leftist aesthetic right. In the same way that Minecraft movie got the Minecraft aesthetic right. and therefore everything else can be incoherent trash. Hey, thanks for watching my video. If you like this content and you'd like to see more like it, just leave me a little comment below that says more content like this. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video.